Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about my top 5 favorite concealers. Even though I did go through and declutter my foundations and concealers, I felt like I didn't declutter very many concealers because the ones that I do have in my collection I really enjoy and use all the time. So this top 5 was really hard for me to narrow down, and there might be like a 6 that sneaks its way in. But I'm just gonna go ahead and share with you guys what my top 5 concealers are. I have some drugstore ones, some high-end ones, so just like a good mix. With these concealers today, I'm not going like in any specific order because with a lot of these concealers, I like them the same. But my first favorite is from the drugstore, and this is the Maybelline Superstay Better Skin Concealer. I discovered this concealer a couple of years ago. I think this summer it'll be 3 years since I discovered this concealer. It came out, I think, in 2015. But this is a good full coverage concealer, and I find that it has a little bit of like a luminous finish to it. Like, it's not super matte. And this concealer has a little bit more of like yellow undertones in it. So that's what that one looks like there. It's just one of my favorites. I feel like sometimes it's hard for me to like describe the reasons why I like these. My next favorite concealer is the Maybelline Fit Me. And this has been a long time favorite. I've had it in my makeup collection for a long time. I've repurchased it several times. This one is a little more, I guess, lightweight than the Superstay Better Skin. So on days when I don't feel like my under eyes are super dark, I reach for this one. This one does dry down to a little bit more of like a matte finish, and this tone of concealer is a little more on the pink side than I keep dropping everything today, than the Better Skin concealer, the Maybelline Superstay Better Skin. So that's the Fit Me there, which I know like this actually looks a little more dewy, but it hasn't dried down yet. So that's what those look like there. My next favorite, which I just recently discovered, but I have fallen in love with it and I can totally understand the hype on it, but it's the Tarte Shape Tape. It's such a long wearing, full coverage, like it's gonna last all day concealer and not go anywhere. The shade that I picked up in this is in Fair Neutral, which is a little light for me right now. So most of the times when I use this, I mix it with my other concealers. Like I'll do a couple of dots of this and then I'll do a couple of dots of like a darker concealer to make it work. So I need to go back and purchase probably light. I guess this one is actually fairly yellow toned too. So you can see that that one is quite a bit lighter than the other two. So it's very brightening if I use it on its own. And I find that this one does have a little bit of like a luminosity to it too. It's not super luminous, but I don't find on me that it's super matte. I don't know, I really enjoy the finish of this. I know I've heard some people say it's like too drying on their under eyes, but I have not experienced that. It's just very long wearing, very full coverage. I can totally understand why so many people love this concealer. It's so good. It comes with like a really large doe foot applicator. My next favorite is the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer. And I know people either love or hate this, but I love it. My skin type is normal to dry, and I find with this concealer, people that usually love this are more like on the dry side of the spectrum, and usually people that have oily skin, this doesn't work out for them because it tends to settle like in their fine lines. But this does not settle in my fine lines at all. It has a good coverage to it. It's not as full coverage as the Tarte Shape Tape, but it has just as much coverage as my Maybelline Superstay Better Skin. A lot of times I reach for this NARS when I want something that's brightening in the winter. It's more of like a pinkish toned concealer. Here, I'll swatch it so you can see. So when I want a concealer that's more pink toned, that's usually the one I reach for. So that's the NARS Radiant Creamy. So you can see that it is lighter than the other two, but not quite as light as the Shape Tape. It's just a really nice concealer. I enjoy it. So you guys will have to let me know down in the comments if you're oily skinned and if you love or hate this. I mean, everyone's different, you know. I really enjoy that concealer. And then I have kind of like a runner-up that I want to mention, but my next favorite is the Tarte Rainforest of the Sea concealer. And I like to use this on days when my under eyes just feel really dry. This is a very moisturizing concealer, so if you're really oily, this probably won't work because I find this to be even more moisturizing than the NARS Radiant Creamy. I mean, I don't know, on me, I feel like the NARS Radiant Creamy isn't like a super like moisturizing concealer. I mean, it's not drying, but I don't know. I feel like it dries down to like a matte finish. I feel like this dries down to a matte finish, so compared to some of my other concealers, you know. And with this Tarte Rainforest of the Sea, it's a lightweight concealer, but at the same time, I feel like it does a good job of covering dark under eye circles, even though it is more lightweight than the other concealers that I have. I love using this concealer with my Tarte Rainforest of the Sea foundation. I just find that those two pair really nice together. And the Tarte Rainforest of the Sea foundation is just, it's one of my favorite foundations. You guys know I mentioned it in my top 5 favorite foundations. So, and I do find that that concealer does oxidize just a little bit. I don't know if you could tell, it's gotten a little darker. A lot of times I use that concealer more in the summer because it is a little darker. So yeah, my runner-up concealer is the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Glow. Like, I used to really like this Urban Decay Naked Skin Concealer. Like, it used to be in my top 5, but I don't know anymore. I don't know if they changed the formula of it, but I don't feel like it's as full coverage as it used to be. I don't know, either that or maybe some of my other concealers are just more full coverage than this. And then another thing with these Urban Decay concealers, I feel like I can never find my right shade. Like, I don't know, I just always find like the shades are either too light or too dark and I have to end up mixing them. So, like I said, that used to be one of my favorites, but anymore I like those other 5 that I mentioned better than that one. And I did recently, sorry, I'm like getting off on a tangent, but I wanted to talk about these. But the Urban Decay All Nighter Concealer, I picked this up the same time as the Tarte Shape Tape. I don't hate this concealer, but I think if I had to pick over like the Tarte or the Urban Decay, I like the Tarte one better just because I find that it's not quite as drying on my under eye area as the Urban Decay All Nighter. This one can be a little drying, so I usually mix it with like one of my other concealers whenever I use it. If you're oily skin, maybe this would be a really good concealer for you. But I find the same kind of problem. They don't have like a very good shade range for me on this concealer either. So I think Urban Decay did come out with some other shades than what they originally had when they first launched those concealers, but I don't know. I just never can really find my right shade. So I did want to talk about those, but those aren't in my top 5. This is like runner-up. This is the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Glow Concealer in shade Classic Ivory. The only reason why this is not in my top 5 is because of the shade as well. It's, here, I'll just swatch it for you. I mean, as you can see, I mean, it's kind of just as dark as these other two, but it tends to kind of oxidize and get even darker. But I find that I can't use this color all the time, or at least right now in the winter, and I just picked it up like a couple of months ago. So maybe in the summer I'll use it a little more. Most of the time I have to mix it with another concealer to make it work. But the reason why I like this one is because it is very, very luminous. It's more luminous than any of the other concealers that I mentioned today. So if you have very dry under eyes, this would be a good concealer because it is very luminous and moisturizing. I feel like it wouldn't accentuate, you know, dry skin. But it is a good concealer. It has really great coverage. The applicator on this is just like the Urban Decay Naked Concealer. It has that flat doe foot applicator, which I really like. I wish all concealers just came with that flat doe foot applicator. I don't know, there's just something about that that I like. So I don't know if you can see now how that's gotten even darker on my hand there, which I know it seems kind of similar to the Maybelline Fit Me, but it's definitely not when you get it on your under eyes. So I feel like this top 5 is kind of turning into top 6. But yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy this. Let me know down in the comments if any of these are also in your top 5 favorites. And if there was a concealer I didn't mention, but you absolutely love and want to share why you love it, let me know down in the comments, because you guys know I'm always wanting to try out new things, and if there's something better out there, I would love to try it. And also let me know which top 5 favorites video you would like to see next. So I hope that you guys are having a great day, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye-bye.